Hi, I'm Jenny Brown. Welcome to our weekly buy-to-let mortgage market update. Thank you so much for joining me. So look, I'm in the office. I'm in for 3 out of 5 days per week, as are the rest of our staff. We're all being incredibly safe. We're being tested twice a week. There's social distancing in place, so we're very, very safe here. And I have to say, it has been absolutely lovely to come in and see my colleagues, a lot of the people that I work with. I've been here for 15 years, so I actually regard a lot of my colleagues as friends. Really nice to come in and see them all. And actually, when I was thinking about where I would record this video within the office, because I'm so used to doing it from my home now, I thought actually I would sneak in the opportunity to show off some of the awards that we've won here over the years at Mortgages for Business. We're incredibly proud of the awards that we've won, so I thought I'd take the opportunity just to show those off this week. Now, in terms of what we're going to be covering off, we have got some lender news for you. Not a particularly busy week, but some really interesting things have come out over the last 7 days nonetheless. We're also going to talk a bit more about the housing market. And lastly, there's been some really interesting research that's been published with regards to landlords' plans for the coming 12 months. I'm going to share that with you as well. So lots of great stuff to cover off this week. Okay, so lender news over the last week. So first of all, we have seen a Hampshire Trust release a series of new rates for larger loans on both standard properties, HMOs and multi-units. Now, Hampshire Trust are a specialist lender. They certainly operate in the more complex end of the market. So by way of an example, there is no limit on the number of rooms that an HMO can have, no maximum number of units on a multi-unit property. They don't mind how many buy-to-lets you've got in the background. They're happy to do developer exit options, remortgaging within 6 months of ownership, complex company structures. They can lend to non-UK nationals who are not resident in the UK. So they've got loads of really niche pieces of lending criteria. And like I say, they brought out a series of rates in the last week that are actually, in terms of the space in which they play in, these rates are very competitive. So great news to see Hampshire Trust bring in some lower pricing. Now, we've also seen Vida Home Loans reduce some rates across their standard property products and also their HMOs, and they can accept 8 beds, and multi-units, they can accept 5 offering. So Vida pricing now starts from 2.89% on 2-year money and 3.29% on 5-year money. They can lend up to 80% loan to value. They're happy to lend up to £4 million per borrower, and they do lend to individuals and also limited companies. Now, when I've mentioned Vida Home Loans in more recent times, I have alluded to the fact they have had some struggles with regards to their servicing. They're definitely getting back up to date and on top of things. They're certainly not the quickest lender in the market still. So, if you are looking for a very quick turnaround time, they're not going to be the right lender for you. But they have also made huge amounts of progress in terms of where they were earlier on in the year. So well done to Vida Home Loans. Now, we've also seen Accord Mortgages make a series of rate reductions of up to 9 basis points across their product set. They now have rates starting from 1.91%. And these products actually include free valuation and cashback on some of them. Now, they're also very competitively priced in the 80% loan to value space as well, and they've reduced those rates also. That's really good. Now, in terms of who is an Accord Mortgages customer or borrower, it's personal name borrowing only, no limited companies. They're looking for straightforward properties, so no HMOs, no multi-units, nothing kind of remotely racy. They will lend to those applicants with no more than 10 mortgaged buy-to-let properties in the background. If you've got more than 10 but others don't have mortgages on, that's absolutely fine. Now, you can be up to age 75 when you apply for a mortgage with Accord, and if you were 75, they would give you a 10-year term. So essentially, maximum age on maturity is 85 years old. And they do need you to be earning £25,000 per year. So with all these very vanilla lenders who offer these really, really gorgeous, interest rates, while their criteria isn't necessarily particularly racy, actually they do. It applies to lots and lots of our borrowers. So great to see that these guys are still making rate reductions at that end of the market too. Now, we've also seen Nottingham come back into limited company lending at 65% loan to value. Now, Nottingham were lending previously, but they got absolutely bombarded with applications in the autumn last year and eventually took the decision to withdraw from the market temporarily while they, progressed their pipeline of applications. So it's really good news to see them come back in, and I'm glad they haven't gone back in at full tilt at 75% loan to value. They're kind of just testing the water at 65%. And they brought out four new products, so 2 and 5 year fixed rates are available, and they all come with a free valuation. So the 2 year fixed rates start from 3.1%, and the 5 year rates start from 3.3%. Now, they will lend, like I say, up to 65% loan to value. They do have a minimum property value of £100,000 for flats and £70,000 for houses. And with the Nottingham, you can have no more than 15 buy-to-let properties in the background. And when we're looking at limited company lending, that's 15 across the company that they're lending to, anything you own personally, and also any other properties you've got in other companies as well, so just to be aware of that. So great to see those guys come back in. Like I say, I think they're really just testing the market at the moment to see how things go. But obviously we're always very pleased to see lenders re-enter the market after a sabbatical of having a breather. Now, lastly, in lender news, the NatWest have announced that going forwards, they're no longer going to register a hard footprint on your credit search when you apply for a mortgage through them, if done via an intermediary. So there's a few reasons why this is really relevant and why it's worth sharing with you. So when you apply for a mortgage and get an agreement in principle, all lenders will run some kind of credit search, credit scoring on you. And what happens is that leaves a record of that search taking place on your credit file. Now, if you have a very, very strong credit score and you have 1 or 2 searches, it's really not going to make any difference to your credit profile or credit scoring, insofar as it wouldn't be the difference from you being able to get a mortgage to not being able to get a mortgage. It might erode your score marginally, but it's going to be very, very temporary and very, very slight. But if you are someone whose score is maybe not up, 999, is lower, the actual impact of having several credit searches potentially done in a short space of time could be that you move from being someone who passes credit score to not, and then you'd have to pause your search for a mortgage and allow your credit score to allow time to recover. Now, when a lender runs a credit search on you, there's one of 2 things that can happen. They can leave what is called a hard footprint, and that is where anybody else who then does a subsequent credit search on you can see that this search has taken place. Or there's something called a soft footprint, which is where the only people who can see this credit search has taken place is the credit reference agency, the institution who did the credit search, and yourself. So by way of an example, if you did a mortgage application with NatWest and they did a soft credit search on you, the only people that would know this had happened would be NatWest, Equifax, Experian, whoever the credit referencing agency is, and yourself. But other lenders would not be able to see it, which means that it would not have a knock-on impact onto your score if you subsequently applied for credit with a different provider. Now, what I would say here is that if you do ultimately then progress to a full application, that soft footprint becomes a hard footprint and it becomes visible to everybody else. But while you're kind of just in the market, maybe just for an agreement in principle, just so you can secure a property, actually this is a really nice way to get an agreement in principle without it having any kind of potential impact on your credit score and therefore ability to obtain mortgage funding. Now, NatWest are certainly not the only lender that does this. There are other lenders who have been doing this for many years actually. But it's really great that NatWest have kind of made this decision to leave the soft footprint, because like I say, it can have a really sometimes a very significant impact to people whose credit score maybe isn't absolutely 100% in the first place. So well done, NatWest. And look, that is it for lender news this week, a very short week. I think it's because we had such a bumper week the previous week and we were all out of news stories. But like you'll see, actually some really positive news to report nonetheless. Right, so Paragon have released some research which I found really interesting. They did a survey of 900 landlords and they found that 19% of landlords are looking to add to their portfolio in the next year versus 17% who are planning to sell a property in the next year. Now, the reason this is really important is because this is the first time in 4 years that the number of landlords who are looking to increase rather than decrease has gone that way. Previously, more landlords have been looking to sell than acquire. And I think this really kind of echoes the sentiment that we're seeing in the market in terms of conversations that we're having with our landlords, who are actually now looking and feeling that the time is right to want to grow their portfolio further. I think the news of Section 24 really damaged a lot of landlords' appetite to be in that space. They've had to kind of rethink their portfolio structures, try and sell some properties to pay down debt, to try and make their tax bills more manageable. And actually now we're kind of at the point where we've gone through that real pain in terms of Section 24 being implemented, and people are now really looking to the future to really kind of drive up their business and grow things. Now, landlords, the research on from landlords that Paragon released said that landlords with between 11 and 19 properties are likely to be the most acquisitive, as 31% are planning purchases, while 28% of those with 20 or more properties plan to buy more in the next year. So essentially, what I read into this is that those landlords who have the larger portfolios really are the ones who are looking to gear up over the coming 12 months. Property market news for you now. So the number of homes selling for more than their asking price neared a 7-year high last month, and that's according to NAEA Property Mark. So 1 in 6 or 16% of properties sold for more than their original asking price, which is an increase from 11% in February. The March rate is the highest rate since May 2014, when 19% of properties fell into that bracket. The survey adds that a third of properties sold for less than the original asking price, which is the lowest number since records began. So again, really, it is getting quite boring, keep saying this week after week, doesn't it? But it really is kind of where the market is, and I think it's important that we talk about this. You know, things are showing no sign of letting up at the moment in terms of people's appetite to acquire property. And, you know, absolutely, there is no doubt this is being underpinned right now by the stamp duty holiday. So yeah, more of that. In addition to that, we've also seen the ONS index, Office of National Statistics Index, has been released, which stated that England house prices grew by 8.7% in the year to February 2021, up from 8% in January 2021. So England house prices were growing faster than the UK rate of 8.6% in the year to February 2021. The Northwest was the fastest growing region, with an annual growth of 11.9% in the year to February 2021, and the lowest annual growth was in London, where prices increased by 4.6% over the year. Now, it's really interesting because when I've been speaking to some of my clients who are based in particularly the north of the country, and specifically the Northwest, they're all saying the same thing. The house prices have really gone absolutely crazy up there at the moment. I think it's fair that when we're talking to clients, what we're really seeing for those people who are in the market to buy is that actually there isn't a huge amount of new stock coming onto the market at the moment. So those properties which are coming on are getting absolutely snapped up by people who are desperate to, buy something before the stamp duty holiday ends, which is really then kind of fueling this busyness in the market. So it will be interesting to see how things shake out later on in the year. And I've voiced my kind of opinions on this previously, but I'm not expecting things to fall off a cliff by any stretch of the imagination. I do think the housing market at the lower end, and when I say lower end, I'm really talking about properties sub £500,000, has really been supported by the stamp duty holiday. But actually those higher value properties that really sit above that, it's not having quite the same amount of impact. So I think that market potentially has got more room to get moving later on in the year, but we'll watch this space. And that is everything from us this week. A very short and sweet week. So we'll look forward to seeing you again next time with more news. But between now and then, if you do have any questions, please do give us a call, 0345 345 6788, or have a look on our website, mortgagesforbusiness.co.uk. I think it's fair to say that I may be recording from the office next week, and I might be at home. I'm just going to surprise you, or I might base myself somewhere else in the office as well, just to keep you on your toes. But one way or the other, I will be seeing you next week, so I look forward to that then. Take care of yourselves.